I drove my rusty pickup to the local game store door. Starfield gleamed upon the shelf, couldn't wait no more. Todd Howard spun his stories of galaxies afar, but when I fired up that game, I didn't get too far. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. They boasted endless planets, each one unique and new. But after planet number 3, I'd seen a deja vu. The critics didn't love it, gave it mediocre scores. Just another space misfire echoed across the boards. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. I searched for epic battles, but the AI wouldn't fight. Characters were wooden, and the dialogue was trite. Todd promised me the cosmos, but left me in the dust. Now I'm trading in this game, it's betrayed my trust. Oh, Todd, you weaved a fable of worlds beyond compare, but all I got were glitches and load screens everywhere. Still somehow I'm considering when the next game's not, 'cause hope's a stubborn thing, and I'll give it one more try. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I'll always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true.
Welcome, everybody. Yes, it is a game, a song about Starfield, written by a robot, and yet it still has better writing. Who'd have thought? I thought it was kind of poetic. How are you guys doing? Is everybody feeling good? Everybody vibing, rocking and rolling? Possibly, maybe, possibly, sort of. Yes, we are here on a Saturday because yesterday's stream exploded. I knew there was a chance. I think I told you guys before the stream kicked off. I was like, there's a chance the power goes out. Sure enough, the power went out. It went out at, I don't know what time that was, like 11 a.m. or something. It did not come back on until 11 p.m. So by the time the power came back on, it was like a solid 50 degrees. I think it was 52 in the house. And like it was a lot. It was a lot. So all is well now. The power came back on late at night, and then things worked out. You know, I'm glad that there's no forest fires with all the wind and stuff. But yeah, that was frustrating. And it's weird because like half the city got their power back on relatively quickly. The other half had to wait till 11 p.m. And I guess I just got lucky. So there you go. Was Todd keeping you warm? No, we went to see a movie. We took the boys to go see a movie because we're like, we can't really hang out at the house. It's pitch black and freezing cold. So we went to see a movie and then came back home and Yeah, played with Romeo a bunch. He was thoroughly confused because he was hanging out with me inside when like at one point the power flickered back on for like a minute and then they turned it back off for another few hours. And Romeo, his little doggy brain, I could tell was thinking, oh, it's daytime because the light turned on. So he's like, "Arr." And he did the thing dogs do with it. It turns out he's thinking really hard about why it was dark and now it's totally bright outside. So he's like, oh, that's weird. And then it goes dark again. And same thing. Just like, I don't understand what's happening. It was very cute. It was very cute. Which one? We saw Zootopia 2. It's the only one that like was kid friendly. But it was cute. It was fine. You know, I mean, a lot of those movies, it's like, it's exactly what you expect it to be. It's like, it's just like kind of silly, lighthearted. Like it's nothing too intense, but yeah, it was good. Power outage. Hopefully not today. Hopefully not today. I will say yesterday after it went out, I did spend a good amount of time researching power backups, battery backups and stuff. And the problem is just like, we could get a big ass like diesel generator and I could do that. And I think that's the most likely route we go. The other option is to go and do like a battery wall thing that goes on the outside of the house. And I did look it up because we're not intending to stay at this house forever. So I was like, can you move it? Like, can you take it with you when you move out? And you can. It's just an ordeal. Like you have to hire an electrician to come and take it off and do all this stuff. It's like a whole thing. But you know, it's fine. I live in Fort Collins and never lost power. It says Jason. Yeah, I know a lot of people that didn't lose power, didn't have any problems at all. I guess it's luck of the draw. And I lost. But hey, everybody's okay. It seems like everything worked out. You know, the reason that a lot of the power goes out in like northern Colorado is because they preemptively turn it off. Because if a fire starts from something getting knocked over, somebody's smoking, puts out their cigarette in the grass and a fire starts, if the wind is really bad, that's how you get a forest fire instantly. Like it spins out of control before you can even hope to stop it. So they preemptively shut off power lines because if a power line gets snapped and knocked over, the odds of a fire starting are really high. And if that's combined with wind, which caused the beam to fall over, then it's a total disaster. I think like 3 years ago, one of our big forest fires was caused by that. So I think the energy companies are particularly sensitive to it now, and they're really cautious, and they really don't want to have another one of those situations on their hands, because then they have class action lawsuits and everybody who lost their home sues them. The insurance companies sue the energy company because they're like, you could have stopped this if you had shut off power. So they now just swing the other way and are very, very cautious about it. But also, it turns out I was not the only one. You know, I've been complaining about like gray screen flickering, black screen flickering after doing some PC updates. Turns out I'm not the only one. There's multiple places. I saw this after I booted up the stream, but there's multiple places of people talking about how one of these updates is causing all sorts of problems for people's Windows PCs, and the best way to fix it is to uninstall those updates, which is kind of funny. It's also kind of funny that this person's also named Luke. It's like it was meant to be. So I'm gonna have to undo that. Hopefully that fixes our problems. But if you've been having problems since like early January or a couple weeks ago, definitely look into that. Okay. This is the most Windows thing of all time. Well, and especially when it's paired with them like announcing that, was it 30% of all their code is now written by AI, and at the same time the quality continues to drop. You know, it's like, I believe you. Yep, sure do. Arizona has has data centers and AI centers and a nuclear plant, but the energy rates and water rates are rising on citizens. I believe it. It's why I did do some reading on one of the plans for a lot of the biggest data centers. Their goal is to literally go into possibly northern Greenland, where there's lots of resources to begin with, but there's discussions between Sam Altman, Jensen, you know, all those guys. Peter Thiel, and they're looking into possibly like building out a city that is pretty much entirely built around managing like data center infrastructure. So the whole thing is built from the ground up around data centers instead of it being like for people and then trying to get it working for data centers. Which I mean, who knows how that works out. But the idea apparently is that being with Greenland, you just roll cables to Europe, cables to North America, and then that can be like one of the centralized hubs. It's like, it's no coincidence that Greenland is the talk of the town all of a sudden. I don't think it's a coincidence, you know? So literally the machine city from Matrix 3. Yeah, except like this will literally, if it ever happens, which who knows, if it happens, it will literally be built up by like 3 or 4 corporations with the express purpose of serving data center needs. So all of the infrastructure, all of the water, electricity, everything is to make that happen. So nuclear power plants and special water lines going straight into the ocean, you know, it's a whole thing. We'll see if that ever happens though. I mean, I'm sure they'd like to do it. I'm sure it'd be nice for them to like not have to worry about people. But you know, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Dude, the whole world is so insane nowadays. I can't even keep track, dude. Can't even keep track. Where did I go? Where did I had something pulled up? I wanted to, there's actually a couple things. So basically my to-do list for today is twofold. I want to finish the God of War thing we were doing yesterday. It was a little funny because I literally went, and this is one of the things I love about God of War. And then the power went out. It was honestly kind of poetic, kind of beautiful. So I want to finish that because I do have that pulled up. The other thing I want to touch on is something that was just revealed about Highguard. And so I want to look at that. And another thing, PC Gamer did an interview. This was something we were going to talk about yesterday, but they did an interview with the former lore master of the Elder Scrolls. And he had some very interesting info that was not known before this. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it because it's very interesting. Some of these little bits of info, very interesting. I don't actually know. Jacob, are you in here? I know it's okay. If you're not in here, it's fine because it's technically a weekend. But if you're in here, Jacob, let me know. Because what I want to do is I want to also pull up that snippet when we did that debrief with Joe Raptor. And he mentioned the guys from S Game that told him they did pay for being in the show, but they did not get to pick their slot. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Jacob's with us always in spirit. Yeah, he is. Jacob's funny. He goes hard with like very funny specific things where he's like, yeah, I kind of hyper fixated on making steaks. So for the last 2 weeks, I've just been, making steaks every day. And that's just what I've been doing. It's very funny. Okay, so we gotta talk about that, which I'll get this out of the way first because it's taunting me. Anyway, hopefully you guys are good. Hopefully you guys are safe. Obi-Wan, thank you for the sub. Oh boy, Saturday stream. I know, right? Isn't it kind of fun? Isn't it a vibe? I think it's a vibe. New Switch model rumor. There is a rumor of a new Switch model. I don't know why they would be doing that, right, as all infrastructure costs are crazy expensive. Gaming Bible. It's the very early days for the Switch 2, although it appears Nintendo may be planning to launch a successor. To state the obvious, I'm clearly not referencing a next-gen console. So just an OLED model. Dude, the OLED model is going to be $700. Let's be honest. It turns out a new product code has been added for Switch 2 called OSM. That is not the current console that has the BEE as the product code. Switch 2 Lite or OLED coming sooner than expected. Oh. See, people smarter than me figured this out. I mean, it would make sense if it was a light model and then the OLED. I think they did the light model first last time, just as like a budget option. It's not a bad idea, honestly. I think it's more likely that they do a budget one with like a light Switch 2 that doesn't have detachable Joy-Cons and stuff that maybe knocks $100 off the price. I think that makes more sense than if they were to go with like an OLED higher end model, because already prices are getting insane. If they can shave $100 off of it, that might honestly help it. But anything more than that, I think is a lot. I think that might be a bad idea. Might be a bad idea. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's chat about this. It wants me to change the video resolution. Oh, I forgot to toggle a button. That's my bad. Well, there's not really anything I can do about it now that we've started the stream. Oh, well, sucks to suck, YouTube. You're going to have to deal with it. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I guess maybe I can do this. Actually, that's a bad idea. I won't do that. Okay, we're just gonna leave it and YouTube can suck it up. Okay, what's the coffee? This is one I had from yesterday. I put in the fridge. It is an Americano with like cream thing. So that's what I'm doing. Good morning, Big L. Wedding was a blast. Love to hear it, my friend. Love to hear it. Loved your impression of Todd. Sadly on your knees, you were still a tad too tall. 8 out of 10. Yeah. It's not the first time somebody's been dissatisfied with me on my knees, but that's okay. I'll get over it. I can manage. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. And I'm glad to hear that the wedding was good. Glad to hear that. That's fantastic. Congratulations again. How's the power today? Still powering. Pause. People don't, if you weren't here yesterday, yeah. I realized if you weren't here yesterday, that might not make sense. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to move on. Let you figure it out. Okay. Let's do, looks more baked than last time. How dare you? Let's talk about these two and then we'll get to the God of War thing. Okay, the first one I want to touch on was this news that broke that was like kind of low-key crazy. New segment. There was just a bit of breaking news that dropped that kind of broke everybody's brains because honestly, this just doesn't make sense. I'm just keeping it 100. You know, there's sometimes little bits of information revealed where you're like, okay, makes sense. Checks out. This one totally doesn't make sense to me at all. You see, Paul Tassi put out an article and then he tweeted out, or vice versa, whichever the order was, that Highguard did not, in fact, pay for its infamous Game Awards finale slot. He says 2 separate sources have told me that Highguard did not have to pay for that hugely coveted spot at all. Reportedly, showrunner Jeff Keighley just really liked the game and offered it to them. There is speculation that another game may have dropped out of the spot, opening it up, but I can't confirm that. The revelation that Highguard didn't need to pay for the spot was previously reported by Imran Khan, which I can now corroborate. What? And like I tweeted out, I was like, what? So Jeff honestly just thought that was the best spot for it. Huge miscalculation if true. But he says he has 2 separate sources telling him that. Somebody else also reported it. So it seems like it is the case that they did not pay for that spot. Now, what is key here is that it's not clear from the verbiage whether or not this means that they were put in the show for free, okay? Because there's 2 things being discussed. 1, a payment to be in the show, and 2, a payment for that slot, right? Like you paid the entry ticket and then you pay an upgrade fee to go to first class, right? What they seem to be clearly stating is that there was no upgrade cost to go to that spot. That's where Jeff put them. And that would make sense given what JorRaptor told us after he attended the Game Awards. So if you don't remember, Jor went to the Game Awards. He was present and afterwards, let's see. maybe it's probably this stream. And then can I do they have transcripts for these? I think if I search for Phantom Blade and then we search for when Jor was talking about it. Yeah, I think this is when Jor called in and told us about it. Okay, listen to this. Lukeception with Jor Raptor. Okay, this is what Jor told us about Phantom Blade Zero, which was also in the show. Okay,
it's pretty interesting. Like from the Phantom Blade Zero people who were at the show as well, that I met like afterwards, that they did not like they were one of the final trailers as well, but they just gave the trailer to Jeff and they did not know where he was going to put it. So it does seem that maybe the first few you really like communicate, and then maybe the final one as well. So yeah, I don't know, maybe Jeff did, like, he of course I do think also wants to be like, it's all the Game of the Year nominations are all the single player games. I do think he wants to be more with the modern times and
modern audience. So Jor says that Phantom Blade did not get to pick their spot. They just paid like the money to be in the show, and then Jeff chose where it went. I think it makes sense, honestly, that Jeff played the game. As he told you, he got to play the game. And he thought it was really good. And he probably honestly thought that this was going to go over very, very differently. As I've said 1,000 times, I think its placement in the show where it was a massive miscalculation. And to be fair, honestly, everybody makes mistakes, okay? It's very normal to make mistakes and to misjudge it. When we did the New Game Plus showcase, we had certain like goals for what we wanted to do. Our goal was to cut down the yapping between segments into like 20 seconds. Turns out it's not that easy to trim that down. So the show ended up being 3.5 hours long, and like an hour and a half of that was us talking. So we learned our lesson, and next time the show is going to be greatly adjusted and tweaked to account for that, because we learned and grow. Mistakes happen, right? Too much yapping still. You have no idea what I'm capable of. So I think it's fine if there's mistakes. I just think this was like a massive mistake, and a mistake that's so baffling, because I feel like I again, to this day, have not seen, I've seen one person that seems to be somewhat defending High Guard, not necessarily like hyped for it or hyping. Actually, no, I stand corrected. A buddy of mine, I have made fun of him for this, okay? I've made fun of him for this. I love him to death. He's very, very funny. Hold on, I will pull it up. Because it was honestly funny, and I did make fun of him for it, okay? I have to share this with you. Can I copy link? Yeah, play the video. So my good buddy Blue Thunder, big TikToker, he did a video reacting to the trailer, and I did poke fun at him for this. Okay, so he's like one of the guys that actually did seem hyped for it.
This looks incredible. Brand new game from the developers of Apex Legends and Titanfall.
And the comments are pretty priceless, dude. The comments are pretty priceless. They're like pretty hardcore. People just... So rest assured, I made fun of him. I think what he told me, he was like, dude, I was so hyped up on caffeine, because he also just had a baby. So he's like, he's fighting for his life with a newborn. Yeah, he says I was ripped on caffeine. So I did poke fun at him for that. He's one of like 2 people I've seen that expressed hype for that. To be fair, his TikTok did have 80,000 likes. So maybe there's 80,000 people out there that also think it looks baller. I don't know. But I think that Jeff, looked at it and thought that it was going to go over much, much differently, and it just didn't. Now, I do still think there's a chance that the game ends up being really good, It ends up being really, really good. I I just don't know, because we have like nothing to go off of, you know. We just don't. Josh, thank you for the bits. Here's the thing. Ooh, 1,000 bits too. Very generous. Thank you. Was he paid for that? No. The thing you have to understand about short form, and this is something I've learned over pushing it the last 2 weeks, short form is like 75-80% share based. So most of the views that you get on short form are based on friends sharing the video with friends. Friends tend to share things that either are really funny or things that look cool that they want to like share with them. They don't tend to share things that look kind of meh or blah. They'll just scroll past it, right? So if you want to do well on short form, it tends to reward like the hype and the crazy excitement of like, whoa, check this out. This game would be so cool for us to play together. You know, that's what tends to do well. So I think it's more that. As far as I understand it, he was not paid or anything. So I think that they expected this to go over much, much better. And maybe like Jeff, to a certain extent, really did buy into the hype of like former Apex devs. This is gonna be Apex Legends 2.0, right? And it just did not come off that way. I think it's also just every once in a while, the people that do these shows get so in their bubble and like so in the zone that they kind of lose sight of the forest for the trees. Like I think Jeff was surely like, we just announced the new Larian game, a new big Star Wars project. Like we had some big reveals. So this being revealed at the end is not going to be a big deal. Everybody else got plenty to eat. You know, there was lots of stuff at the buffet for everybody. But because of its placement, I think that's what makes it feel weird. Because the placement of the show does matter. And it feels like every year or two, there's one of these big lessons where it's like a little bit of a blunder or mistake and they just didn't really think of it. And then the next year they course correct. So I guarantee you next year, Jeff's show, the last reveal is going to be the biggest one. Guarantee it. Just like a couple of years back when they did the wrap it up thing, they reacted the next year and were like, okay, we'll be a little bit more free flowing. You can take your time. I just threw something. You can take your time and we're not going to rush you and stuff. And I think that works much better. It's just the way that a lot of this stuff works is that often you don't know that something doesn't work until you've tried it and realized it doesn't work, right? The Wrap It Up is a classic. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Wrap It Up was a direct response to the Christopher Judge speech for God of War Ragnarok. Because it was like 8 minutes long, 9 minutes. 9 minutes long. Yeah, 2022. So the Wrap It Up, I think, happened in 2023, and it was specifically a response to this because the speech just never ended. I love Chris Judge, but like, bro, it was crazy. It went on forever. So I think that's what they were doing. But then after 2023, they swung the other way. They're like, okay, we went too far. Let's pull it back. And then 2024, they leveled it out again. And with this, I'm sure it's going to be a similar thing. Just like a handful of years ago, like 2018, 19, they had tons of musical performances of like bands you had never heard of. And they were just like randomly singing. They balanced that out. Heard people didn't really like it. So this is just how it goes. You know, it's a mistake. You move on from it. The tough thing for Highguard is that it's going to be really tough to move on from it. But the biggest thing with all this is, again, the revelation that they apparently did not pay for that spot. Jeff put it there because he thought it was the best game for the spot. And I think it's probably twofold. For one, I think he bought into the hype. It was like former Apex devs, Titanfall devs. That is a great thing to have on your resume. So maybe fans of those games will be really hyped for what we have to show here. And they're just disconnected from the reality of like hero-based shooters that people just mentally are exhausted by. Two, I think that there probably was also just a thought that, hey, we revealed a bunch of other stuff for single player RPG players, narrative players. They have other stuff that they got during the show, so they won't be upset if we put something like this at the end of the show. And I think what Jor said also is probably true, that these games, if they're successful, get massive player bases. And so he's trying to serve every facet of the industry. It's not just the single player RPG players. It's not just the Star Wars fans. It's not just the simulation players. It's like the whole gaming industry. And so while you and I might not connect with Highguard, maybe they thought that some other people would. But either way, it's going to be fascinating. There still is no word from them at all. They've gone still radio silent. It's a little over a week until the game launches. And some people have responded to this. You remember this guy? We reacted to his clip where he was calling people like saying that they were acting in bad faith if they thought the game looked bad. And I think he called people stupid too. It was a whole thing. But he is a former IGN guy now, just says he's a content creator. But he says many Highguard haters brag they possess otherworldly pattern recognition, so they don't need to play games to know they'll hate them. Whenever I see M dashes now, I just think you're using AI writing tools. I know a lot of people do use M dashes unironically, but I've noticed since the rise of like, let me help you write that with Gemini or something, immediately like M dash use has skyrocketed. I just, whenever I see M dashes, I'm like, okay. You know, I'm not saying he is, it's just an observation that M dashes are usually a sign of AI use. Anyway, he says, yeah, they bragged that they possess otherworldly pattern recognition. No, it's just that for one, it's the final announcement in a show, and it was a letdown of an announcement. It's just kind of generic. The game could be really cool, but even if this were like a massive overhaul to Overwatch or something, you know, one of the biggest games in gaming history, the most recognizable games in gaming history, and they announced like Overwatch 3, this time with even less content. If they announced that, it would still be underwhelming because it's nothing like really new or fresh or exciting. It's just like more hero shooter slop, you know? Slop may be excessive. I'll take that back. More hero shooter familiar content. Fair. So I don't think it's claiming otherworldly pattern recognition or anything. It's just people look at it and found it uninteresting or kind of blah. And here's one of my other frustrations with this general vibe of like immediately dismissing the opinions of people that you disagree with, because it seems like Fran thinks the game looks cool. Awesome. Or thinks that people are rushing to judgment. Sure. Okay. But what I think is so frustrating about this particular way of handling it and framing it this way is that it again attributes motive negatively when somebody is just honestly communicating their impressions of what they saw. You don't need to be a chef to know that something doesn't look appetizing, to know that something doesn't smell good. I don't need to be a fashion designer to know that an outfit looks ugly. I don't need to be a home builder to know that the doors should shut cleanly and the house shouldn't creak. Like, I don't need to be an expert or have extensive experience in this field or to have done some massive inspection of what we're talking about to go off of my initial impressions, because that's what everything does. You know, like your job as a consumer is to evaluate the offering, see if it connects with you, and if you like what they're offering and you think it makes sense for you, you buy it and consume it. And in this case it's free to play, but you know, you consume it and buy it with your time and energy. And the job of the company making the thing is to sell it to you and convince you that it is worth buying and it is interesting. And the point for me, and I think most other people that reacted to the reveal, was just that they did a bad job of selling people on it, demonstrably so. I think a game that does a good job of selling you on it is a game that has tons of people really hyped for it after the fact. This game clearly did not achieve that goal, you know? He says, and yet hilarious, so many can still not seem to recognize former Apex devs. Nobody's denying that there's former Apex devs working on it. Is that supposed to be like a got you? Apex surprise launched almost 7 years ago to the date. Okay. And you'll see what he's doing is he's trying to suggest that the lack of marketing and lack of any communication whatsoever is because they're Apex devs. And last time with Apex, they did a surprise drop. But this is so silly to me for one very big reason that I'm about to get to. Same general formula, save for a single exception, an announced trailer. It's not rocket science. My friend in heaven. My friend under the guidance and warmth of Todd's embrace. Apex was known for a surprise launch, save for one exception, an announced trailer with a date. So the connection you are making between Apex's surprise launch and what they're going to do for Highguard is that Apex surprise launched, except Highguard will not be a surprise. So it's just a launch. Like every other game that's ever launched. So I don't think this is the own that you think it is. Like, yeah, it's Apex surprise launched out of nowhere. Nobody saw it coming, and it was amazing. This game is exactly the same, except that it's completely different in the one key way that I'm referencing. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It could be great. The game could be awesome, dude. It could be awesome. It could be. It might be. Maybe. Okay? Maybe. What we're saying is that there's very little reason to think that it is, to be convinced that it is. They've not marketed it. They've done no communication of it. There's speculation they did have a creator preview event or something in the last couple of weeks that was secret, and that they are going to do basically on the 26th, they're going to drop the creator previews and impressions. They're going to open the servers and just try to do everything all at once in one day, get people super excited and just blast it. Have it be a big moment. And maybe, but I don't think people are wrong for being like, this is weird. This is weird. Because you're right. Apex came out of nowhere, shadow dropped and found tons of success. Still going strong to this day. I love Apex personally. I love Apex. I think it's great. Wish they'd bring arenas back, but we'll see if they ever do that. But this is one that they announced and revealed. So it's not the same thing. It's just not. It's just not. And I think trying to frame it as basically just Apex is disingenuous or delusional or just stupid, because like it's literally not a shadow drop if everybody knows it's dropping on that day, because you've already announced and revealed it, and people found that announcement and revelation wanting. You know, it's really frustrating me and like baffling to see somebody so clearly in a bulleted list outline. So it's like Apex, because Apex did a surprise launch, and this is exactly the same, except that it's not a surprise. So therefore it's just a launch. So therefore it's not different at all. Okay. Like, or it's actually completely different. It's not different. It's not exactly the same. It's completely different. See, you've broken my brain. My brain is fried. My brain is fried. Congratulations. So we'll see. You know, where this goes. I don't know. I just, man, I don't. My face is tired. My face is tired. But. Oh my God. A follow-up, Rebs says, as Paul said, he's not the only one to report that Highguard developers did not pay for the Game Awards finale spot. 11 days ago, gaming reporter Imran Khan stated that they paid for a spot in general, but Jeff chose Highguard to be the final reveal, like I said earlier in this segment. So funny note, they did not pay for that spot. Like, obviously you pay for a Game Awards spot in general, but the choice of where to put in the show is Keeley's. I'd argue he screwed them a bit with the placement here. I would also agree. I think it did a lot more damage than good. But I mean, what are you going to tell Jeff? No, we don't want to be the final announcement. Like, you'll take that if you get it, but I do think it was a miscalculation. But it's free. It is free. And I do think that there's going to be a good number of people that try it. But it's like we did that poll like a week or two ago where I asked you guys, which game do you think has a higher concurrent player count after, say, a week? Marathon or Highguard? And I think it's pretty clearly going to be Marathon. I think people might try Highguard out of curiosity, if they even do. But even for a free-to-play game, you need interest, intrigue. You got to have people that boot it up just out of curiosity. But when you're taking this, like, what I think they're clearly doing is this, like, shadow drop approach, where it's not a shadow drop, but you're going to shadow drop it, where they're going to just be silent until a day before, basically. I think it's really hard to build hype, because even now, again, like I showed in my video the other day on the main channel, there were more people in Concord's like Twitter following. They had their Discord server. There were more active followers and fans of Concord earlier than there are currently for Highguard. Like that's a problem. Even the day after Concord launched, they had more followers than Highguard does right now. They have double, or had double the followers. So I just think like clearly not marketing your game is a bold choice, especially when things are so competitive. The one way that works is if the game is phenomenal, and specifically if word of mouth carries it across the finish line and helps it spread wide and far. Maybe. But when your game is already drowning in negativity and is already drowning in bad word of mouth, it's going to be tough to overcome that, you know? I just don't know, but we'll see. I mean, there's things that are surprising all the time. I think now Marathon, the more of Marathon I see, the more and more likely I think that is of actually finding a good amount of success. A lot of the stuff they've shown in the last couple of weeks, I think looks really good, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I think Marathon could actually find a good amount of success when it launches, which is not something I thought was the case 6 months ago. If you asked me 6 months ago, I was like, not so sure. But they went away, they worked on it, and you know, they're making improvements. Still an uphill climb, don't get me wrong. It's far from a slam dunk, but I think it's in a much, much better spot. So we'll see where this lands with Highguard. We're going to find out soon enough. I do think that I do want to try it. I realize, though, my friends, I'm going to be on a plane. I'm going to be on a plane when it drops. So I think I'm going to be bringing my gaming laptop with me to my location. And then in the hotel room that night, I'll record something and I'll have Jacob frantically cut it together or something. So I'll give it a shot. You know, I'm hoping my plane has one of those like Starlink things, you know, how some of the planes do the Starlink thing, so you can like game in the sky. It won't be ideal, but that would be cool. That'd be cool. I hope they drop it at midnight so that I can record it right before, because I think we have to leave for the airport at like 3 a.m. So I might just pull an all-nighter, you know, maybe I'll do that. I would ask them, but they've gone radio silent, so who knows? I don't think they'll tell me, even if I asked. When's the game launching officially? Like, actually? Can't tell you. It's going to be a surprise. We're shadow dropping it on this day, and you know it's coming. So it's totally a shadow drop, even though it's not. Anyway, yeah. Beatty Bait says, this game that when we all saw it at the Game Awards, we rolled our eyes thinking, well, just the next live service, the game that dies in a week. That game, Jeff put it completely free. Not completely, to be clear. They still paid for their spot. They did not pay for that specific spot. So they paid what somebody pays for a trailer. They did not pay for like an upgrade to get that final spot. Because he thought it was a massive slam dunk. Yeah, he placed it there because he liked it. I don't understand anything anymore. I don't either. It's all crazy. But there you go. We'll keep an eye on it. And for anybody doubting Marathon, it's a cute robot. So clearly that's all you need for a successful game nowadays. Boom. Caribbean again? No. When I went to the Caribbean, I got neurovirus and was exploding inside and out, and my body was trying to turn itself inside out. It's one of those things that has made me feel like I've never felt like more of a spoiled bougie a-hole than when I was like, yeah, honestly, didn't really like the Bahamas. It's like, I'm the worst. But it's because my body was turning itself inside out, and I was fighting for my life down there. And because it's basically a third world country, there's no like medicine. There's no like run to the pharmacy real quick. You're just fighting, you know? It was rough. It was rough. But maybe we'll go back to the Bahamas one day. Who knows? Let me catch up on these super chats real quick before we move on to the next little thing. Why didn't you tell me you were streaming today? Asked Kyle. I'm sorry. You're right. I should have. Degrees, thank you for the 5. Good morning. Big L, wedding was a blast. That's right. Thank you, Degrees Below. And I'm glad to hear that the wedding was good. Armin Coleman. Armina Coleman, thank you for the 5. I really hope Rise of Hydra shows soon. Maybe at State of Play or Summerfest. I know Wolverine is going to show soon. Dude, it was delayed indefinitely. And all I know is when something's delayed indefinitely.
At Velvet Patterns donated $10 through Super Chat. Did you see that it's apparently impossible to leave a review for either Fallout 3 or NV on Steam due to it not being released yet?
Yeah.
Weird Steam store bug or hints towards their remasters, perhaps?
It could go either way. I did see that. Personally, my guess is that the Fallout 3 remaster is probably still like a year away. That's my gut feeling. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but that's my gut feeling. I think it's next year and it's going to pair up with season 3 of the show. That's my guess. Fallout New Vegas remaster, probably like 4 or 5 years away. Like, I don't think that's anywhere close, dude. I don't think that's anywhere close. So, because again, we still don't know who's working on it either. That's one where I'm like, maybe it's happening, but I've not seen an overwhelming flood of sources to make me feel confident that the New Vegas thing is like actively being worked on. It sounds like it's super early if it is. So
At Kyle Parker,
I'm guessing
1720 donated $10 through Super Chat. How could you do this to me? BC of that New Game Plus. I've wish listed like 20 games. My backlog, much less my wallet, can't take this.
Dude, for real.
Next time find devs who aren't cooking.
Yeah. Can't do this every year. I get it, Kyle. Thank you for the 10. And dude, I can't offer specifics, but what I can say is that I've spoken to devs who shared trailers with us, like some of these smaller indie devs, teams of like 5-6 people, a dozen people. They told us that they had X number of wish lists on Steam and they like tripled that number, like a 200% jump in a day from our showcase. We've heard from people that our showcase had a bigger impact than them being present at like major showcases with like PlayStation or Jeff. I don't know what it is, but the people that we had watching the show were much more active in like wish listing and checking the games out than at many other shows. I don't understand it. I'm not sure why, but it's very good to see. Dragon Twin went up 3,000 patrons over the weekend. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, Obi-Wan, you posted on our Discord about it. I shared that with the rest of the team, the New Game Plus team, because we were like, what? It was crazy. It's because they were real. Well, and it's I think it's also because it doesn't feel like a corporate event and the games are just there to speak for themselves. I think that goes a long way with people, you know. I think the age of media we are in is much less about brute forcing your stuff, and it's much more about authenticity and that sort of genuine connection. And I think the prime example of it is, you guys know what I'm going to show you. So, I mean, what's the point in building up to it? But I think the clearest example was that King of Meat video that they did with Mr. Beast. They spent God knows how many millions of dollars on this, and they went up 50 players on Steam, 50 concurrent players on Steam. So maybe like a couple hundred purchases or a few hundred purchases. That's how much they went up with a 7 million view video on Mr. Beast. How insane is that? But if you look at the numbers, this should be way better than anything that you do with like a New Game Plus or any of those other shows, because it's a dedicated video, 7 million views. All of these YouTubers and Roblox streamers and stuff are on here hyping it up and saying it's great, but it didn't convert at all. Not one bit. I mean, 50 players on a multi-million-dollar investment. They literally could have just gone and bought the game 100 or 10,000 times or whatever the math would be, and it would have been a better ROI than this. Like, seriously, it's insane. It's insane. Mr. Beast has a ton of AI views. I don't know how this is possible. I see 7.2 million views, 169,000 likes. I don't understand how that works or happens, but I think what it is that it's honestly just, I don't know this for a fact. It's just a speculation. I think it's a lot of autoplay views, specifically on like younger kid accounts. Like if there's a 10-year-old who falls asleep with his iPad playing a video, this just autoplays and it's just a Mr. Beast playlist. It's just what YouTube does. They just feed Mr. Beast videos. And because like you also see 7 million views and then there's like 3,000 comments. I get 3,000 comments on a video that has like 150,000 views if it's like a really hot topic or something that people are really interested in. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't get it. It's confusing to me. I'm confused. Someone help. I'm lost and scared. I don't understand. But I think that that's the big takeaway. I think that's the future of game marketing and honestly just product marketing in general is authentic connections between the brands and the audience. And one of the best ways to do that, I think pretty clearly, is to find content creators and people who they connect with that are not this like shiny corporate thing. Mr. Beast, I'm sure, is like a cool guy to hang out with probably, but he does have this sort of shiny veneer of like, I'll be whatever you need me to be for this promotion, you know? And I think that is just falling out of favor in terms of actual like conversion for your money being spent on it, you know? Let's see, where did I leave off? Yeah, Rise of Hydra, who knows if we ever see that again, Armin Coleman, because it was delayed indefinitely. I hope it actually launches and is good, but it was supposed to be out late last year, I think it was, and then it was supposed to be out early this year, and then they delayed it indefinitely. And frankly, indefinite delays are scary. That's not something you ever want to hear. Just being honest. Just my opinion. Cancel me. I don't care. It surprisingly launched. That's what he meant. Oh, I think, yeah. Okay. I see what you did. There. Silver Lining, thank you for the 2. Jesse, thank you for the 5. What do you think it will take for the industry to stop making live service games that are cash grabs? Nothing. I don't think anything will stop it, because all you have to understand to know why this is happening is look at like what a successful live service game makes on a single skin sale or a single weapon blueprint sale. They can spend a week with a couple of people making a new AR-15 skin, charge $20 for it because it's the new broken meta. That thing will sell 20, 30, 40 million dollars worth of units or whatever you want to call it. And that right there is more pure profit than if you were to spend a year working on a smaller indie game. So for a lot of these big publishers, they can release 10 live service games that flop and are total disasters and don't make a penny. But if they get one success, it pays for all of those failures and itself 100-fold. So they can take the risk, and they can like, people act like maybe it's confusing or weird that these live service games flop. No, like in many ways it's by design. It's literally throw crap at the wall to see what sticks. And sometimes they stick and they pop off and make tons of money. Other times they don't, in which case they shut them down and move on. That's just what it is, you know? That's just what it is. COD skins alone make them $2 billion. Dude, people buy them up like crazy. Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox, Fallout 76, like all these games, they make ridiculous live service money. And so they can take the gamble of trying something that doesn't work, because if it does, they're all multimillionaires. They make $1 billion. They're good to go, you know? Gonna continue the God of War video? Yes, we will. Thing for the 2. Yes, we will. I do have it pulled up. We're gonna do that. Don't you worry. Where did I leave off? Raven, thank you for the membership, by the way. Appreciate you. Get your booty in the Discord. Would love to have you in there. Let's see. Oh yeah, Velvet again with the I think it's a Steam glitch personally. It might be something more. Maybe they're way further along than we think on the remakes and remasters. That would be awesome. I'd be very happy to see that, but I don't know. With all things Bethesda, I've just learned expect less, and then when they surprise you, you'll be all the more giddy, but start expecting less. You know? That's my modus operandi. Yeah, Kyle again, thank you for that 10 about the New Game Plus showcase. Armin Coleman, thank you for the 5. What do you think will be better, Wolverine or Spider-Man 2? Spider-Man 2 wasn't bad, but I'm a like Wolverine more in my opinion. I personally think I'm gonna like Wolverine more. That's at least what I'm hoping. That's my guess. We did put out, I think it was a YouTube short and TikTok. Trevor cut it together of the he cut it together of that moment where I kind of ranted about my concern for Wolverine and how the writing in Spider-Man 2 was so awful, but somehow it kind of got a pass. And bro, the comments were like all on the same page. So I think they really got to show people that whatever was wrong with the writing of Spider-Man 2, they got to address
Velvet
that.
Patterns donated $10 through Super Chat. What if Marvel 1943 was actually just a glorified tech demo that execs suddenly decided to be made into a full game because of unexpected interest that the suits never planned for?
It's possible. I mean, to a certain extent, it might have started like that, where they're like, we're just gonna experiment with this, and maybe we'll release it as a tech demo where it's understood this is a really pretty hour and a half, you know, but there's not a lot of gameplay. If that's the case, and then it just ballooned up into something bigger, that would make sense, and that would click with a lot of the things we've seen about it. So it's quite possible. It's quite possible. And then it just got kind of too big and out of control, and they're just trying to make it work as a game, but it just doesn't really want to work as a game. So that would make sense. I'd love to hear about the development of the game. I think that's really interesting. Maybe for New Game Plus, we'll reach out to them and we'll try to do like a studio tour or something. That could be cool. That could be cool. Oh my God. Fantasy Files just tagged me in something. This is what I was tagged in. It just says, Luke, she's going to be a dad. Quickly, in chat, what do you think is going to be above this? What do you think he's tagging me in? Just take a guess. Take a guess. I want to see if anybody can guess what this could be referring to. She's going to be a dad. What do you think that's going to reference? Because I'm guessing, you got to be specific. I'm guessing you're not going to see this coming. Okay? In a fun way. It's frankly fun. It's frankly fun. While you're doing that, Mo, thank you for the 5. Authenticity, relatability, transparency, and less pricey is the reasons why they do better than other showcases. Yeah, I think that's true. I don't know. We're digging into it. We're trying to figure out what the hook is, what made it work so well. Because obviously there's lots of stuff we want to change with the show and that we know we can improve massively, and those fixes are already in the works. But we were pretty shocked at the conversion rates and stuff. It was pretty impressive. Okay, you ready? This is what it is. She's gonna be a dad. You know that they just revealed the new Lara Croft, right? Right? J. Rue photoshopped it. She's gonna be a dad. Stop it. Herbert, god damn. I think Bella Ramsey is a very, very good performer. Very good performer. I don't know what happened with The Last of Us Season 2, honestly. I don't know what happened. Because it seemed like they were on a pretty good track, and then all of the choices, like literally, I think almost every single choice that was made in terms of character direction and how to read lines and how to do certain scenes, I think I dislike almost every single one in Season 2 of the show. It's kind of amazing how Season 1, I was like, okay, so she's like more goofy than Ellie in the games, but I can work with that. it's like a defense mechanism. I can live with that. But season 2, I was like, across the board, this version of Ellie is just worse. She's just nasty and entitled and bratty and unlikable and incompetent. It just, across the board, man, it just was worse. Oh man. Anyway, I don't know. It might have been writing. It might have been the direction. It might have been Bella. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? What I do know is that the former lore master of Bethesda Game Studios just did an interview. New segment. We're going to talk about it, and you're going to like it. Yeah, I'm talking about Bethesda again. You can't stop me. I did not see this coming. PC Gamer just did an interview. Thank you, Josh, for the 500 bits. They just did an interview with the former lore master of Elder Scrolls. Now, it's no mystery that over the last few years, a lot of people that were pretty important to Bethesda have left. We've looked at interviews from a lot of them. Like the one we reference all the time is Will Shen, who was the senior quest designer on Starfield. And he has done multiple talks and interviews talking about his process and also what changed within Bethesda over the years, because he worked on a lot of stuff back in the day, all the way forward through Starfield. And with this individual that we're going to be referring to today, he's a guy named Kurt Kurlman. He specifically talked about his experience within Bethesda and what led him to leave after 20 years. This is a guy that worked on Fallout 3. He worked on Redguard. I mean, he is an OG. You probably recognize him from like some of the documentaries that they did, from some of the dev interviews and stuff they did around Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. I mean, like, he's an OG. Okay, this is a guy that actually knows what he's talking about, is a pretty big deal within this community. Okay, big dude. As you can see, this is a great article put together by Samuel Horty over at PC Gamer. They've been doing a really good job recently, and they landed this interview, which is very, very interesting. Okay, so a couple of very interesting revelations in this, though, that I did not know about before. Okay, because he has direct knowledge. This is not he said, she said. He has direct knowledge of things that were promised to him by Todd. Things that Todd said were going to happen, things that he expected, things that were in the pipeline and that were being produced, and then something changed. It's very interesting, okay? Because this is about to piss you off. Okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm just be prepared, because most people who have read this leave frustrated. Okay, so let's see. Kurt Kurlman, the longtime Elder Scrolls lore master, hasn't revealed why he left Bethesda in 2023 after more than 20 years until now. His departure didn't make headlines, but it rumbled those who know the series best. Michael Kirkbride, who worked alongside Kurlman on Morrowind and Oblivion, wrote at the time that, quote, Kurt was the best writer the Elder Scrolls ever had. His leaving will be the creative detriment of the Elder Scrolls 6. That's not great. That's not great. When the people that work alongside you are like, this is bad. This is bad, especially because a common complaint is that Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Starfield, like, the writing quality has been dropping. And now, like, according to the people that are working on these things, the best writer they've ever had left. Not great. He continues, it was almost certainly time for a change, Kurlman said, who now works at the Tencent-owned studio Lightspeed LA. What is this studio doing? Lightspeed LA, that sounds familiar. Corporate office in Irvine. Let's see, headquartered in Shenzhen, China. They worked on PUBG Mobile and Peacekeeper Elite. Now they're working on Code to Jin Yong, Battle Aces, Last Sentinel. Oh, Last Sentinel. This one. Oh, this is I remember this. Last Sentinel game. Do you guys remember this one? It was revealed like 2 years ago, maybe? Does this ring a bell? You guys remember this? This trailer. Show the trailer. Show the trailer. They're not showing the trailer. Yeah, Troy Baker is the performance director of the game. It was this one. You remember this? Where it's like a really cinematic, like, I don't even know how to describe it. The vibes were there, though. The vibes were there. Yeah, they announced this back in 2023 and then just went silent. Yeah, this. You remember this? Remember this? I think it was Game Awards 2023 is when it was shown off. So this is where he's working now, okay? Kind of a crazy pivot, honestly. Like, kind of wild, but props to him. So he said there were some things that had been going on for a long time that I'd not been super happy with. Some were an inevitable result of Bethesda's boom years. With hundreds of developers across multiple studios making Starfield, communication sometimes broke down and developers felt disconnected from senior management, he said. This, again, is a very, very common thread whenever you look at any interviews related to Bethesda, related to the development of Starfield. It's a very, very common thing. Again, there were multiple moments where Will Shen, when he talked in this GDC presentation, he talked about, this is him, he talked about how he would go and see Todd maybe once a week. This is senior quest designer, and he saw Todd like once a week in a meeting. And that was it. There was like no oversight. There was no active communication. Like he saw him once a week if Todd made it to that meeting, which sometimes he wasn't able to because he's stupid busy, because he's an executive producer on another company's massive game. And he's also like working on the Fallout show and all this. And this is all while the team is skyrocketing in size exponentially. Again, Skyrim, they had like 115, 120. By Starfield, they were 550 across everything that worked on that game. It was massive jump, but the infrastructure wasn't there. And so communication completely broke down, which Coleman points out is a frustration. That's also something, again, that many other people have said as well, is as the company got bigger, communication suffered, and then it didn't feel like they were making games the way that they made games anymore. It felt like they were just checking off boxes in their task management software. But there's another reason, and it's linked to a promise. This is another reason he left the company, and it's linked to a promise that Todd, praise be, everybody praise him, It's linked to a promise that Todd made to Kuhlman. Have I been saying Kurlman the whole time? I'm so sorry, Kurt. I might be dyslexic. I don't know what's happening. It's Kurt Kuhlman, not Kurlman. I'm sorry. I'm the worst. Cancel me. I don't care at this point. Cancel me. I'm sorry. So it's linked to a promise that Todd made to Kuhlman about the Elder Scrolls 6. A promise, he says, that was never fulfilled. What is this promise? This is where you're going to probably get like a little peeved, okay? Buckle up. If you have pillows, put them on your hands. Get ready for the face palm, okay? Kuhlman's tenure at Bethesda was split in two. As a junior designer in 1996 and 1997, he worked on Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall and Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, and pre-production on Morrowind. He returned in 2003 and was involved in every major Bethesda game after that point, including as co-lead designer on Skyrim and as a lead systems designer on Starfield. That's where you might recognize him from some of those like documentaries and stuff, like these videos, which largely are from like Starfield promotional stuff. He goes on. He became the Elder Scrolls lore master because of his longevity at the studio and his shaping of Tamriel's history. When ZeniMax Online Studios began making the Elder Scrolls Online, Kuhlman was assigned to field lore questions. He's literally the person they put in charge of the lore. He was the guy. Over his 2-decade second run, Bethesda ballooned and its culture changed, he says, particularly after Skyrim. In the early days, it was a close group of developers, including Todd Howard, in a basement office making decisions and eating in the canteen together, he says. But new offices opened and other studios were founded or were folded in by owner ZeniMax Media, including Battlecry Studios and Escalation, both in 2018. ZeniMax was itself bought by Microsoft in 2021. These would, of course, become, I believe, Bethesda Game Studios Austin, and Escalation, I believe, was Montreal. I think Escalation Studios. No, they are Dallas. That's it. They're Dallas. Okay. So Montreal is a separate thing. But yeah, those two studios, Battlecry and Escalation, were Austin and Dallas, I believe. ZeniMax itself was bought by Microsoft in 2021. By the time Starfield shipped in 2023, quote, it's 4 remote studios all working together on a game. When you get to that size, you can't have people just popping into Todd Howard's office to chat about a design point. He's not having lunch with everybody. It's very different when it's 400 people, 4 big studios, big business, and Microsoft is now involved. Size brought problems. Decisions that on Oblivion would have been made on the spot after a face-to-face conversation were instead filtered through layers of management. Sometimes developers couldn't even work out who had made those decisions, Kuhlman says. He also describes communication breakdowns during Starfield's development, where teams didn't understand what they were supposed to be doing. Quote, or, there would be people talking to the leads in one studio and getting an answer, and people talking to the leads in the other studio and getting maybe a different answer. Kind of a problem. This is why, honestly, it's kind of amazing that any studio that gets over like 300 people is able to put a game together at all. Honestly, I find it baffling and amazing. It's kind of incredible. You look at Rockstar, which is thousands of people. You look at some of these games like Assassin's Creed, where it's also hundreds and hundreds of developers. If you count everybody doing support work, it's thousands. Like, the fact that any of these games get put together at all is kind of amazing. It's just remarkable because there's so much like management over tasks and duties that it's just baffling that, again, they're able to get anything done at all. But that's why you need infrastructure. You need processes. You need to have directors that you can put at those satellite studios who are going to all be working on the same thing and completing the same vision, right? It's very difficult. And I think that this is one thing if your game and your studio is built up around a culture of volume and scale like that. It's a whole other animal when your studio was founded on a company culture of like intimate development, where if you need something, you get up and you walk over to Todd's desk and you ask him a question. He gives you an answer. You walk back over, you fix it. If you stand up and you're like, I need to know where this art asset is, or I'm working on the dragon fight and I think it'd be really cool if the dragon actually had like, I don't know, if he had red horns, because I'm going to do something in the writing about him having red horns. So I'm going to go over to the art department. I'm just going to tell Angela over there, hey, can you make this asset? Can you just color his horns red real quick? Oh yeah, sure. When it gets to the scale that we're talking about now, it's next to impossible to do those kinds of things. Everything is submit a ticket, just knock that out. It'll be fine. Just do it that way. It'll be fine. And it just doesn't work anywhere near as efficiently. Bethesda's growth and the problems that came with it were, quote, slow rolling change, he says, and predated Microsoft's acquisition. This is also one important thing that I think is important to stress. Again, we meme on Todd. But it's very clear, as his involvement dropped, the quality of the games also dropped, at least according to most people. Okay. Over the years, Todd with Skyrim was involved in the day-to-day. Fallout 4, a little bit less so. Fallout 76, way less so. Starfield, very much less so. Nowadays, it seems like he's not very much involved in day-to-day game development at all. Maybe for like big picture stuff, but not doing day-to-day stuff. as that's happened and his involvement has dropped, the quality has dropped. You can meme on Todd a lot. God knows I do. Todd knows I do, you know? But as his involvement has plummeted, the quality's plummeted. He really does seem to be the guy that was making Bethesda games. Like we joke about, tell me sweet little lies, Todd, all that. He is one of the most talented and prolific game developers in modern history. And typically, the more involved with a project he is, the more successful it will be. Which is why it's a problem for so many of these developers that as he became less connected and less involved, things just started to fall apart. It just didn't work. He goes on. And these changes sound as if they're exemplified by how Todd's role shifted. Quote, Todd's a very good project lead, and fundamentally, I think he's a designer at heart, and he's good at it, obviously, if you look back at the games, Kuhlman says. But, quote, over time, as he got busier and every part of this larger and larger organization wanted him to do stuff for their project, he would get pulled away, end quote. Howard made good decisions, Kuhlman says, so when he wasn't around, games suffered. Sometimes choices made in Howard's absence needed undoing later. The way decisions were made wasn't the only problem for Kuhlman. As Bethesda grew, senior developers became more managerial and less hands-on. Skyrim's leads, Kuhlman among them, were also making the game directly, for example, writing and building quests. But by Starfield, the leads overseen by Howard included the leads of entire studios. It felt, quote, more bureaucratic, he says. The expectation was your job can't also be making content if you're actually managing the scope of the project. Again, this bureaucratic anecdote is reiterated and stressed by Will Shen, who specifically says, what was I spending my time doing? Let me pull up the, tutorials. This right here. Listen to this. Again, this is a guy, senior quest designer. He's going to tell you what he was spending his time doing.
Was being requested. And finally, we had to do a lot more tutorials. So I was in OBS Studio a lot making video tutorials. So on Fallout 4, when I needed to teach someone the tool set, I would just sit down with them and answer their questions. But now we were working with people from around the nation, sometimes around the globe. I often didn't know when they would need me, and I often didn't know who might need me or what they would need to know. So it became absolutely critical to do a lot more tutorials and how-tos about every feature of the toolkit. Another interesting concept.
Absolutely insane that a senior designer on the game is spending his days making OBS video tutorials on how to use tools and how to do stuff instead of, you know, designing. Like, it's one thing if you have to do that quickly because, like, you need something very, very specifically done and you're like, oh, I'll just film it real quick and show you. I do that occasionally. If I'm like, hey, Jacob, I need this very specific thing done in this video. Let me just show you what I mean real quick. I'll do that. It's rare because Jacob's really competent, knows what he's doing. And if I generally explain something, he knows it. But occasionally there's something where I need to be like very, very specific. But like, again, it's just the delegation, the workload being spread like this. It's just really bizarre. This is the other thing, again, reiterating the bureaucratic side of things.
Consequence. By the way, this is not a real Slack profile. I grabbed this from like Slack's website, so no secrets here. But this is an example of a phenomenon that happened where not everyone knows you or has a relationship with you, especially if they're from one of those outside groups who's coming in to help at the end. So your title became incredibly important. There are many people I met because they messaged me because they saw my title and they were assigned to work on something maybe that day and didn't know who to speak to, so they came to me assuming, oh, you must know something about this because you have lead in your title and it's somewhat adjacent to what I think you're working on. And
can you even begin to imagine being assigned to do something on a work day and you literally don't know who to talk to, like to understand what you're supposed to be doing? Like, again, I cannot stress just how bafflingly poorly organized all this seems to be. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. that they frankly get anything done. But does it start to make sense why it would take them like a year to do Shattered Space, when in the same time period again that they took to make Far Harbor, Nuka World, all of the other smaller DLC like the ones for base building, all of those, they did all of that for Fallout 4 in the same time period it took them to make Shattered Space. Like, does this make sense, right? This starts to explain it. This is why, again, playing defense over this is just kind of stupid, because this is clearly insane. This is ridiculous. And they should work on reorganizing and figuring this out, because what we do know for a fact is that it's not working. And even some of the most senior talented developers at BGS are leaving out of frustration because of how poorly organized the companies are. That's a problem. And you should figure it out and work on it. But seemingly none of that's happened, because as more people leave, these stories keep coming out that is just more and more of this. I've told you guys, I've spoken to people that work at BGS right now, and all this is still very much the case. Like, yeah, no, it's just, they said, honestly, it's one guy told me, it's like, honestly, the job's pretty cushy, because some days we just don't do anything. And I was like, you know what? Fair. And frankly, I believe you. Anyway, continuing. Let's see. Okay, read that one. He doesn't believe this setup is necessarily wrong and says it's perhaps inevitable as studios grow. He enjoyed leading other people but preferred designing. Quote, I didn't want to work that way because I like making games and being hands-on, he said. It hadn't gotten to a scale beyond where I was really enjoying, or it had gotten to a scale beyond where I was really enjoying working in that environment. He continues, but what of Todd's promise? What of Todd's promise? Again, get ready. Coleman says that after Skyrim, Howard verbally promised him the lead design role on The Elder Scrolls 6. This is after Skyrim, probably circa 2012, okay? Which was promised to be the next project after Fallout 4. So circa 2012, late 2011, he was promised to be the lead on Elder Scrolls 6 after Fallout 4. He says, quote, of course, after Fallout 4, we didn't go to the Elder Scrolls 6. We made Fallout 76. And then, even then, we didn't make the Elder Scrolls 6. We made Starfield, which became this extremely long project compared to the other ones. So from my point of view, I've been waiting like 11 years to be the lead on the Elder Scrolls 6. Quote, I was obviously one of the old timers there and had a lot of experience. Bruce Nesmith and I had been co-leads on Skyrim. If you don't know Bruce Nesmith, we've actually talked about him too. Bruce Nesmith right here. You can see he works on like D&D. He worked on all sorts of stuff. Worked on Daggerfall all the way through. But he retired. When did he retire? Does it not say here? Please hold. He retired in September 2021. Design director of Bethesda Game Studios, 17 years, 9 months. And then design director and oversee game design department while still doing a lot of design. I was lead designer for Skyrim. Again, he left during the work on Starfield. So again, a lot of the very talented senior guys leaving. He says, I was obviously one of the old timers there and had a lot of experience. Bruce Nesmith and I had been co-leads on Skyrim. I think most people would call it a successful project. That's one way of putting it. Perhaps understating it even. So I thought it wasn't unreasonable for me to think that I could be a successful lead on Elder Scrolls 6. It wasn't just my expectation. I had been told that was going to happen. And they made the decision, no, you're not going to be the lead. He remembers that being a quote unquote tough conversation, and that Bethesda's leadership hoped he'd be happy with a different position. Quote, Todd said, well, we want you to have an important role in the project, but I wanted and what he wanted were different at that point. PC Gamer did reach out to Bethesda, and they declined to comment on the topic. And Coleman says he doubts Howard would acknowledge the promise. Quote, and in any case, he could also say, well, that was a long time ago, things changed. And he's definitely right that things changed. And the role of lead on Elder Scrolls 6 is very different from the role of the lead on Skyrim. In retrospect, as much as he wanted it, he doesn't think he would have enjoyed it. Quote, and so they may have made the right decision of saying, I shouldn't be in this role. So they told him he'd be lead. They changed their mind. According to him, they promised him, Todd promised him that. And then Todd says, never mind. Somebody else is going to do it. And he left. It was a combination of this and missing out and his overall dissatisfaction with the way the studio had changed that made him think the time was right to leave, he says. He talks about these events without malice or bitterness. It's obvious that Bethesda and the Elder Scrolls still means a lot to him and that he enjoyed working with his colleagues on those games. If Bethesda was still the smaller studio it was 15 years ago, he would love to be making the Elder Scrolls 6. He even knows what he would have done with the game's story, or at least what he would have liked to do. Quote, I had in my mind that the Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be like The Empire Strikes Back, he says. The Thalmor and the elven supremacists who were peripheral in Skyrim's story and ultimately wanted to control all of Tamriel would be the bad guys who come out on top, setting up the Elder Scrolls 7. He saw evil triumphing as a welcome alternative to the Chosen One idea that Bethesda often relied on. The player might have, quote, secretly saved the day, end quote, at the end of Elder Scrolls 6, he says, for example, by protecting an heir to the throne. So you've preserved hope for the future, but overall it looks like the Thalmor are on the march. He ultimately doesn't think Bethesda would allow Elder Scrolls game with a bad ending, and with the pace of its releases, a cliffhanger is, quote, completely unfeasible, he says. It's not a good way to end a game and say, yeah, we'll see you in 10 to 15 years. Fan theories point to Hammerfell and possibly High Rock as the locations for the next Elder Scrolls games. Coleman says he doesn't know where it will be and jokes that his friends who remain at the studio can't talk to me about what's going on. The series lore master is now, like all of us, watching and waiting from the outside. Every time we hear more of these like little bitty inside looks at the development process, at how things run, it paints a very, very crystal clear picture that after Skyrim, the company started to grow and they started to do other projects that weren't initially on the list, like Fallout 76, like Starfield. And as it grew, and I'm sure the mobile games count in that too, and as it grew and grew and grew, the process for retaining the company culture fell through and they weren't able to retain it. And it started to grow into a bureaucratic corporate mess that a lot of the old school guys absolutely hated. And so they left. So a lot of those OGs that worked on Skyrim are no longer there. And that leaves just a couple of key big figures that are still there. In fact, if we look at some of those like early videos of the like roundtable discussions, like this is one of those videos where Will Shen was talking about the design of Starfield. He's no longer there. There were some of these like roundtable discussions where he was talking about like, you know, Todd's there, Todd's not super involved in the day-to-day, where Emil's there. Emil's still there. Emil's still involved. And it seems like Emil will probably be like one of the lead, if not the lead, on all of this stuff. And you guys know how I feel about that. So, no surprise. I would be cautious. I would be hesitant to get super excited. Okay. I think a company that is poorly organized will not work efficiently and will not be able to put out their best work. And it's sort of like a bottleneck on quality if organization and process is poorly organized and is not working properly. There's only so much you can do. You can have the world's best developers, as I think you had in many cases, like some of the best open world designers and best RPG designers in the world working on Cyberpunk 2077. But their processes were so god awful in the lead up to that game's launch that it was a disaster. It was a dumpster fire when it launched, because they didn't know who was talking to who, and this was getting fixed by this person, but then that broke this other thing. and they had to reorganize completely and untangle the web that was their company's hierarchy and teams. And when they did that, all of a sudden it worked. All of a sudden the company like was able to put out Phantom Liberty, and it was like a triumph to show, no, we still have it. We just had to figure out how to get this type of thing done, and it worked. As far as I can tell, Bethesda has not had that Cyberpunk moment of, we need to change, we need to reorganize, we need to adjust, because I think they've done just good enough for so long that they consider it passing. And I think that's the thing with Starfield, is that it wasn't a disaster. Some people make it out like it was this total absolute dumpster fire. We joke about it. More than anything, Starfield was just meh. It was just kind of mediocre, which was frustrating considering the time they had spent on it. It was kind of unimaginative and just bland and boring. That's really what it was at the end of the day. But that's not the same as what happened with Cyberpunk. With Cyberpunk, that was so bad that they had to adjust. They had to reconvene and figure out, how are we going to figure this out? And they did. They did. And they came back, and again, Phantom Liberty was like the ultimate, no, we got it. We got it. We still got it. But I don't think Bethesda's leadership thinks anything is wrong. When they get negative feedback, you know what they do? They delete their accounts. They delete their accounts. Let me pull this up. So this is kind of hard to find and dig up because it's been deleted. Basically, Emil Pagliarulo, again, Todd's right-hand man, basically the lead on all of this stuff now. He had a long thread on X where he talked about some of the feedback of Starfield, okay? This was specifically in response to like the Shattered Space DLC, okay? The reason I'm showing you this as a screenshot, I will explain in a moment if you don't know. Newsflash, people on the internet are mean. Funny how disconnected some players are from the realities of game development, and yet they speak with complete authority. I mean, I can guess what it takes to make a Hostess Twinkie, but I don't work in the factory, so what the hell do I really know? Not a lot. This is kind of fallacious, okay? Again, I don't need to be a chef to understand that my omelet is undercooked. I don't need to be a mechanic to know that my car is not driving properly. You know, I don't need to make candles for a living to know that a candle smells bad. You know, like this whole argument just doesn't make sense. But he says, part of me really gets it. When you're a consumer and spend money on things, that gives you the right to complain about those things. I spend a lot of money on games every year. And sometimes it takes a lot for me to not scream into the internet's collective consciousness. I don't complain about games on social media for two reasons. One, I know how hard it is to make games and have too much respect for my fellow devs. Two, I work for a game studio and it would be uncool and unprofessional for me to do so. But sometimes I want to. Oh boy. Most people don't have these constraints and are free to post whatever they want. The internet is a glorious Wild West and I wouldn't have it any other way. And there was a time when I exercised that right freely. 5, when I was writing game reviews for the Adrenaline Vault forever ago, I was absolutely that person who would say whatever I wanted to about a game, good or bad. Sometimes the good was over enthusiastically too good, and sometimes the bad was me being sarcastic asshat. But throughout that time, I actually had no inkling what game development was actually like, how hard the designers, programmers, artists, producers, and everyone worked, the struggle to bring a vision to life and constantly shifting resources, the stress. This isn't me complaining about my job. I've experienced all these things and will again. It's the nature of AAA game development, but I also have a great position and I'm still gainfully employed after 21 years, a blessing considering the thousands of layoffs this year. I'm not trying to change anyone's minds because of the internet, but given my position, I can't not share the truth. And the truth is nobody sets out to make a bad game, and most game devs are incredibly talented. Even the game they release isn't up to par. This is absolutely true. There's incredibly talented people that actively work at Bethesda. It's like I said, it's a bottleneck when the process is not properly like optimized. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If the processes are bad and you can't like properly polish and refine and improve, there's only so far your talent will get you. You know, you have to have the tools to let your talent reach its full potential, right? So this is true. Amazingly talented people work on this stuff. Nobody wants to make a bad game. That's absolutely true. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't call it out and like offer a wake-up call when something doesn't work out, when something isn't clicking, when something isn't fun, when something is boring. Gamers have a right to communicate that, as he's expressed here. And just because something is hard doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to critique it. If I go to a restaurant and I order a creme brulee dessert, that is a difficult thing to make. It's very hard to make a creme brulee. I don't know if you guys have ever tried. My father-in-law, he makes them, and it's very impressive. It's like a science experiment. You have to really know what you're doing, be aware of the temperatures, consistencies, proper portions of everything, even down to like the shape of the bowl you put it in, all matters for it. It's ridiculous. That's very difficult. But if I go to a restaurant and I order a creme brulee and it comes out tasting like scrambled eggs, it's okay for me to tell the waitress, like, I need a new one. You know, it's okay. Even though it was really hard, I'm giving you money to do the hard thing. It's your job. It literally is your job. He continues. See, I never knew this before, but if nothing else, video game development is a series of concessions and tough decisions. There's that perfect game you want to make, and then there's a game you can make. Sometimes, if the gods smile upon you, those two games are very close.
At Kyle Parkhurst 1720 donated $10 through Super Chat.
It's wrong.
The head writer for BGS has the mentality, well, gamers don't get story, so don't even try. BC, he wrote a bad story, people hated it, and he's just been coping since.
Coping since, well, I didn't even try, so anyway. That's certainly the energy that's given off. That speech, I'm sure he regrets doing that talk, because I think that was pretty disastrous, but it gave a very clear insight on the thought process, which is not healthy. And I think it explains a lot of their general approach with how lackluster like the writing in Starfield was, because why bother trying? People are just going to spend time running around on empty planets. You know, they're going to be bored like the astronauts. Why even try? You know, and team is absolutely the operative word there. Lots and lots of folks doing lots of work, writing, level building, making character models, coding game systems, trying to schedule it all so I can get it done. And folks don't burn out, and on and on. So sure, you can dislike parts of the game, you can hate on a game entirely, but don't fool yourself into thinking you know why it is the way it is, unless it's somehow documented and verified, or how it got to be that way, good or bad. Okay. So just don't be specific. You can complain about it being bad or you not liking it, but don't try to offer theories for why it is the way it is. Okay, I will do that now. I don't know why, but BGS's writing quality, the exploration quality, all of the focus, most of the game design decisions, all have led to more boring, bland, and uninteresting experiences. I did skip 10, you're right. And I find it lame. I don't know why. I don't know. But I feel that way. I don't know why. I'm not a game designer. I don't know why, but it's boring. Okay, I did skip 10. But in order to get there, in order to get as close as possible to that vision, the team has to push itself harder and harder, often while dealing with devs being shuffled around or leaving, looming deadlines, and creative decisions you wish you didn't have to make. Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, chances are, unless you've made a game yourself, you don't know who made certain decisions, but who did specific work, how many people were actually available to do that work, any time challenges faced, or how often you had to overcome technology itself. This one is huge. So yes, love games, buy them, play them, and complain to your heart's content. It's sort of the nature of game development, game developer player transactional relationship. But just know that the game you're playing is in some ways a freaking miracle in and of itself. Normal people have come together to work for years for one goal, to bring you fun and happiness. So it helps to remember that. And them. Smiley face. Nerd with glasses face. And heart. True. Most things in modern society are low-key a miracle. This coffee I've been sipping on is low-key a miracle. The fact that not only did you figure out how to manufacture plastic, the dyes that go onto the cup to brand it, but also like the coffee beans have been sourced from around the world, transported here before they rot, roasted and blended into very particular flavors, and then it's been brewed into a coffee, and then a barista has been trained and learned how to combine different ingredients and milk sourced from elsewhere all together to create a coffee that I can sit here and enjoy for like $6. That's a miracle. But guess what? If it tastes like piss, I'm still going to be upset. It's still a miracle, but it's a miracle that tastes like piss. And it's okay for me to be upset about it. You know? It's a miracle that games are made. Yes. But if a game is bad, I still get to be upset about it because it's your job to not make it taste like
At
piss.
Geronimo Torres 1 donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
The true job of a good leader is to facilitate the success of everyone in their command.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And when it doesn't work out, the commander often takes the brunt of the blame because everything lands on their shoulders. This certainly feels like deflection. And honestly, most of what he says, I think there's a lot of good stuff in here, but I think he's missing the point of most people. And it certainly, in the broadest, scope, it seems to be an attempt to deflect criticism. That's what it seems to be. So people verbalize that. And he deleted his X account. Now, I'm not saying every developer needs a public presence on the internet. I'm not saying that. Obviously, if you want to have some privacy, I actually encourage that, frankly. I think that that's probably a healthy thing. If I weren't doing this for a living, I wouldn't have a social media account. Personally, I'd be disconnected completely. I do this for a living and I hate it. It's fine. It's healthy if you want to have some space. That's totally fine. But I think that certainly, again, the impression it gives people is that the moment that there's pushback and criticism, you either start deflecting it, saying, yeah, but it's really hard, or you end up like refusing to even engage with it or listen to it. And so you delete your account and you go open an account on Blue Sky. It just feels weird. It just feels weird. And it kind of reinforces the idea that they're not engaging with the criticism or critiques and instead are just going to a hug box, And that's, I think, the problem. That's the problem. So all of these revelations, this information, none of it's particularly surprising. It's stuff we've talked about for a long time. So again, none of that's shocking. But I do think that until BGS has its cyberpunk moment, it will be more of the same. Frankly, I think they need that massive wake-up call that, like, you gotta fix some of this stuff. Maybe that wake-up call is happening internally and it's actually like one of those things where they realized, hey, we're gonna need another 2 years for Elder Scrolls, and they're like, okay, what are we doing? And maybe that's it. Maybe Phil Spencer calls them and is like, Todd, I said I need it tomorrow. And maybe that's what's gonna happen, and it's gonna be a wake-up call there. He's like, I swear to God, I'll fire all of you. I can, and I don't even care. Satya will give me a high five. Maybe that's what's gonna happen. But until there's a big moment like that, I don't think there's going to be a lot of substantive change, because that's what it took for Cyberpunk. Again, CDPR is no perfect company, like far from it. There's no such thing as a perfect company, but CDPR needed that massive wake-up call to adjust and then be like, okay, we'll reorganize. And then they were able to put Phantom Liberty together, and now they're putting together The Witcher 4, and we'll see how that turns out, of course, when it launches. But that's certainly a big challenge for them, and a lot of people are going to be watching them very, very closely. But I think until they have that moment, nothing will really change. I don't think so. Let me catch up on these real quick, and then we'll finish the God of War thing. Ba, thank you for the 2. Heard any news confirming GTA 6 being delayed again? Nope, nothing. It seems likely to be sticking to that time frame of late 26. So thank you for the 2. Gonna continue God of War video. Yes, we're gonna do that in a second. Total Malarkey, thank you for the 5. Were you able to learn anything about the Kingmakers game? Not yet. Hopefully I have an update soon. Dwayne the Rock Lobster, what a name. Thank you for joining and getting a membership at the show off tier. That gets a boom. Boom. Thank you. Velvet Patterns, thank you for the 10. What if Marvel 1943 was actually just a glorified tech demo? Oh, I did read that one. I think it's quite possible. Thank you again for the 10. Blackthorn, thank you for the 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 should have won Game of the Year. Dude, Corey might be in here. You gotta be careful talking like that because his game won. So careful. He might cancel you. You might not even care. I don't care. Cancel me. I don't care. You gotta be careful. Kyle, thank you for the 10. Oh yeah, again about the head writer. Yep, got that. Let's see. And then Geronimo, thank you again for the 10. I absolutely agree. When you're in a leadership position, there's benefits and disadvantages to it. Josh, oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't telling me that there were messages associated with the bits. Now I feel really bad. Now I feel bad. Thank you for the bits, Josh. Hopefully you're still here. Luke, you missed my last bit. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Luke, did you see the marathon vidoc / clips? As someone who plays Destiny, if they actually manage to succeed in adding raid-like mechanics in an extraction shooter, then this game will blow up. I'm so sure of that. I do want to do an overall recap of Marathon soon. So I do want to do that. We will talk about it in depth. I have to collect all of the stuff and then I want to dive deep into it. So I will be doing it, probably not today, but I do want to do a deep dive into all of the new Marathon stuff. So I want to go through like all of that stuff and work through it. Okay. So buckle up. Marathon looks like hot garbage. I don't know what you've been looking at recently. The new stuff that they've got looks way better. Way better. Does Luke have a monitor on his ceiling? No, I do have an extra light. Alexa, turn on TikTok. There's an extra light up there for backlighting me when I film short form. Alexa, oh, this is gonna break things. Alexa, turn off TikTok. It's gonna turn off that. See, now it's extra dark. Oh, moody. Alexa, turn on Studio. There we go. That's better. Let's see how to get Alexa to do that. It's a bunch of Amazon smart plugs. So I have pretty much every light plugged into a smart plug, and then you can go into the app and you can connect the plugs into groups, and then you name them whatever you want, and then you can go and use it to turn on all together. It used to be that I'd have to do it all individually and it was super annoying, but now I can do like Alexa, turn off Studio, and you'll see it turns off all of the lights in the studio. Alexa, turn on Studio. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I'm spoiled. Because I used to have to go and manually like turn things on and plug them in and everything. It was kind of annoying, but this is way better. Yeah. Sorry, Fishmonger's Village. I'm sorry. Dude, my house is freaking out. Dude, everything's breaking. Stop. It's like that one South Park episode where they had them all referring to, yeah. No, anyway, let's finish this. Okay. News, Emmett. So if you guys missed it, yesterday I tried reacting to the problem with God of War Egypt that no one talks about. Problem came around when my power went out in the middle of us talking about it, which kind of sucked because we had like Cory Barlog in chat with us watching a video about God of War. That's kind of baller, frankly. That's freaking cool. It would be like talking about The Last of Us with Neil Druckmann, or talking about Elder Scrolls and Todd Howard is hanging out, you know, like it was cool. And then the power went out and it was out until 11 p.m. Woof. So it was a long day and a long evening, but now power is back. Power's back, my friend. So I want to finish it now, and I'm guessing Jacob cut this together, so this starts right after the power went out. So yeah, for those of you watching the clips after the fact, this is the next day. But you know what? It's still going to be fun. Basically, what we went through, he went through a brief recap of everything with God of War and what they need to kind of set up and where they're leaving off with the Norse saga. And we're going to resume right about here and, get back into the groove. Let's see the rest of what he had to say.
Sure, this story will feel natural to the development of Kratos as a character. Sure, he has grown quite a bit, but I think it's too much for him to suddenly be making a trip to another pantheon and ask for unification.
Okay, this is coming back to me. Yes, Kratos, now he's kind of a god that's in charge of unifying the realms. So how do they set up God of War Egypt? They could do it where he just needs to go and unify them. Maybe there's some infighting or a civil war amongst the gods. I think the easiest thing to do would be to have like an invasion where the Egyptian gods come in and like make it clear that Kratos needs to step up and be better. Maybe that's what he does. I'm not sure.
Kratos right now isn't in a position to start a war with another pantheon, but I also don't think he's in any position to become a hippie god that just wants to chill with other pantheons. So what could be the reason for taking Kratos into Egypt then? We'll probably never guess what the writers have come up with until we actually play the game, but recently I've started to think about this question from a different angle. What if the reason we can't come up with a way for Kratos to leave the Norse realms is because there isn't one? God of War Ragnarok clearly gives a reason for Atreus to be the one who's leaving, but not for Kratos. In fact, a big part of the story of God of War Valhalla is him coming to accept the role as one of the protectors of the realm. It would honestly be weird for Santa Monica to completely bypass this new chapter in his life by taking him out of the Norse realms.
I believe I would like to sit here for a while.
On top of that, we also know that Santa Monica has left many unanswered questions from the Norse saga, like the mystery of who blew the horn.
Oh, I think that this is where the power went out. Yeah, because I was saying how I really like this sequence because it shows the anxiety of a father and the how anxious he is when he starts pacing on the elevator. Because it would have been so easy for them to just see. As I start talking about this, I'm worried my power is going to drop the moment I get into it, which would be freaking hilarious. But yeah, this moment was so well done and well acted and motion captured and just, oh, it's just so good. It's so good.
Has left many unanswered questions from the Norse saga, like the mystery of who blew the horn, Sindri's turn to the dark side, the possibility that Forseti is still alive.
His father murdered Heimdall. Forseti has proof. Take him.
No.
And lastly, the weird situation with Hell's next ruler. I think we can all agree that if Santa Monica tries to answer any of these Norse-centric mysteries in another pantheon, those answers would not be very fulfilling. We also have
I'm sorry. Guys.
Norse-centric mysteries in another pantheon. Those answers
Everybody chill. It was me. I do wonder if they're ever going to answer that.
Would not be very fulfilling. We also have the issue of the new weapons Kratos has acquired. Usually when you start a new saga, it's best to start off fresh from a gameplay perspective. This is why Cory Barlog didn't want Kratos to have the Blades of Chaos from the start of God of War 2018. He wanted players to get accustomed to the Leviathan Axe and the new gameplay formula. So if we follow the same logic, Kratos will probably have a new weapon in the Egyptian saga. But there's an issue here that not many have realized. When Kratos made the jump from the Greek realm to the Norse realm, Santa Monica only had to bring with him one weapon, the Blades of Chaos. But now with the jump to the Egyptian saga, Santa Monica not only has to make this jump with the Blades of Chaos, but also with the Leviathan Axe and the Draupnir Spear. An argument can be made that the Draupnir Spear isn't that important, even though it was made with his own blood and was blessed by Brock in one of the most emotional moments in the story. But who knows, maybe Santa Monica will be able to do away with the Draupnir Spear. But I really don't know how they'll justify leaving the Leviathan Axe behind. This isn't just a cool axe with ice powers. This is Kratos' late wife's weapon that may or may not contain part of her soul.
Yeah, an exclusive fact that revealed to us that is that inside Kratos' axe dwells someone's spirit from his past. And that's why it always returns to his hand. And from that day, May 16th, 2018, I was already sure they were working on the sequel. Interesting.
Much like the Blades of Chaos, the Leviathan Axe is very important to Kratos as a character. This means that Kratos will have to make the jump to the Egyptian realm with 2 weapon slots already filled. This leaves room for maybe one more weapon, but no more.
I don't know. This type of thing I've never been that worried about because like they can always just do the thing where it's like, oh, you've arrived at whatever Egypt realm. I'll take that, and I'll take that, and whoop. Oh no, they fell in the Mount Doom lava pit. Oh, now you got to use this cool Egyptian scythe. Like, I think it'll be fine. I think if they want to find some new way of doing it, they can do that. You know, like I don't think it's that big of a deal.
And can you really imagine a new God of War saga with only one new weapon? When we're being completely honest with ourselves, there isn't anything in the story of God of War Ragnarok that hints at Kratos traveling anywhere. So once again I ask, how are they going to get Kratos inside of Egypt? Clearly, it's very difficult for Santa Monica to make the Egyptian saga a continuation of the Norse saga.
So prequel? Is that what we're saying? I don't know how that would work.
So what if it isn't then? What if God of War Egypt is actually a prequel story?
Did you have everything before the game of like how long this is after the last God of War journey we've seen? Like how much older Kratos
how long
is?
is this after the last game?
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Anyway.
Leaving the door open. Oh, okay.
We've been pretty specific throughout all the development of God of War to not commit to a date or any time periods. Chronologically, it fits beforehand, but it is way more interesting to look back on that when you find out her power and control. If you find out who she is and you find out all that information first, this story doesn't work as well, right? This reveal and this sort of bonding between these two characters. But now, looking back on how he got there, that to me is far more interesting because now you feel like you totally understand everything, but you don't.
If Santa Monica decides to make the Egyptian game a prequel story about Kratos, then they completely bypass all of the problems they would have with a sequel. They would no longer have to worry about all the mysteries they left unanswered because, chronologically speaking, they don't exist yet. They also wouldn't have to come up with an ad hoc justification for why he no longer has the Leviathan axe or the Draupnir spear.
What if what they do, this is a hypothesis, okay? Scientifical hypothesis. Bear with me. It's a prequel. What do we know? We know that there's been rumors and speculation of I had an egg of a cable tie Velcro thing. That's funny. That's where it went. Sorry, ADHD. Okay, what do we know? There have been rumors and leaks that potentially the spin-off game could possibly explore Kratos' relationship and backstory with like a father figure, right? Like who trained him, where he came from, where he got his senses of duty and obligation. What if what they're gonna do is actually a prequel? And like they are doing the 2.5D game, spin-off game, but what if the prequel for the Egyptian realm is also an exploration of that? And that narrative bit is actually for the Egypt game, not for the 2.5D game. And they're actually like both leaks, even though we thought all the leaks were about this one spin-off game, what if the leaks are actually split? Some of them are for this, some of them are for that. Maybe. I don't know. That could make sense. I'm sorry. My gears are turning. My gears of God of War are turning.
Because at this point in his life, he didn't have these weapons yet. And lastly, Santa Monica wouldn't have to come up with a creative way of getting Kratos out of the Norse realms because he isn't there yet.
You could do that. Honestly, like, it's kind of fixing a problem that I don't think is that big of a problem. If they want him to go to Egypt, oh no, the Egyptian realm needs you, or there's some sort of divine, he trips and falls out of the whatever tree and like, oh no, now you got transported somehow. Mystery. And then the weapons. Oh, Anubis takes him. You can just do that. I don't think anybody would be like, the game was awesome, especially that part where he fought in the underworld and then he like went and actually fought Ra, the sun god. That was really cool. But you know what? Yeah, the fact that he only took a boat to get there was kind of lame. Like, I don't think anybody's going to say that. You know, I just don't think it's that big of a deal.
In fact, if God of War Egypt is set after the events of God of War 3, it would make perfect sense because this is when Kratos is aimlessly wandering the Earth. It's the time in his life where he would naturally come across other pantheons, like he already did with the Egyptian one. Cory Barlog has said before that everything we've seen is a misdirection. So what if the true purpose of the random release of the God of War Fallen God comics was to set up the Egyptian game? They certainly couldn't make a God of War game from the story the Fallen God comics told.
I need to order these. I need to look them up. Has anybody in chat read these, the comics? Anybody in chat read them? I'm honestly curious. God of War, God of Boy comics. They good? Are they good? I see them. Do they sell them in a pack? I don't know. I'll look it up later. Yeah, I gotta order these. I gotta check them out.
Because in this story, Kratos is just constantly passing out and killing nothing throughout most of the comics. However, by the end, we can see the potential for a game because at the very least, Kratos has now accepted the curse of the Blades of Chaos, which means he at least has one weapon for traditional combat. And I know the story of the Fallen God comics ends with Kratos leaving the Egyptian pantheon behind, but again, as Cory Barlog has said before, everything is a misdirection.
That was a dream. The comics are a dream, and Kratos is actually gonna go there for the first time.
What might have seemed like Kratos exiting the Egyptian realm could very well be the beginning of his journey there. It's not like Kratos peacefully passed through the Egyptian realm. He killed two of their creatures in bloody combat. Who's to say that some Egyptian gods won't want retributions for his actions? So instead of Atreus being the one captured by another pantheon, what if it's Kratos? And this is what begins his journey there. From a character perspective, it would also make sense for Santa Monica to focus on this time period because it could offer us a look at a completely different Kratos. So far we've seen the raging monster and the calm and reasonable god, but what exactly happened to Kratos in between these two stages of his life? This is something that a prequel story could explore with ease.
True, I've always thought what is an actual problem, like the weapons, I'm not worried about. Getting to Egypt, not worried about it. You can do whatever you want. What is a difficulty is like Kratos, he's a character with anger issues, and that makes him fun to play as a player. But by the end of Ragnarok, like he's largely leveled out. Like, you know, like he can still go rage mode when he needs to, absolutely. But there's not, like his character arc is pretty well completed with his Dad of Boy arc. After God of War 3, you know, he completed that arc. And then they did some other stuff with like Ascension. But I'm like, where do you take Kratos as a character at that spot, you know, at that moment? And that's where I'm honestly not sure. Like if you go from there, like I guess you'd be exploring Kratos from the perspective of like being a god and then sense of obligation and serving people and helping people, even though like he's never tried to do that. I don't know. Maybe he's like working to choose which type of god he truly wants to be. But like, what is his arc? What is his arc? And that's where I'm honestly not sure. I don't know where it goes because it's pretty clear within the Norse saga what his arc is. I'm not sure what it would be here. And that's the trickier bit for me. That's the one that's really hard.
And as it turns out, Cory Barlog also seems to think this would be a good idea.
For me, I wanted an expanse of time from 3 to explore the rock bottom of Kratos, right? So that what happened before this is a really cool story, something that I've sort of laid the beats out for, but something we're not really talking about today. Sure. So that when you kind of see that story as it folds into him arriving in Scandinavia and meeting Faye, all of that is a really awesome story.
I know that
I do think a prequel probably makes the most sense just because you could explore Kratos in Rock Bottom. And I do think like the end of the game where he gets to Scandinavia, you see him meet Faye. Like I do think that could be really legitimately cool. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you like, how does the average gamer, how does the regular audience understand that? Do they understand the prequel? Would they understand the framing of that? I'm not sure. Could be really interesting. GMs, thank you for the 5. What if it is a prequel and the first half of the game is fixed camera and the second half is third person? I mean, I could see it being like a little level. I don't think they'd split it half the game and half the game, but I could see it being like a little mini mode within a a boss fight or something. The camera pulls out into the traditional one. That could be cool. And then Silver saying, thank you for the membership. 26 months. Ooh, baby. One, are there any smaller studios you think could be exploring? You think will be exploding to stardom in the future? They're not that small, but I do think Owlcat. Watch Owlcat. I think they're going to be massive. I think Owlcat's going to explode. As for even smaller than that, that I'm honestly not sure. Smaller than that, I think Phantom Blade Zero is going to pop off. I think that's going to be massive. Tainted Grail devs, that's a good one too. Yeah, the Tainted Grail devs, like, they clearly have something, but they gotta, like, marketing it's gonna be tricky. Like, if they can do whatever is next for them and find a way to have like a very unique vibe and art style where it just pops off and has that like Baldur's Gate 3 moment, or like, that could really help it. But yeah, I could see them exploding. Exodus, Sandfall. I mean, Sandfall's already, they're no longer the underdogs. Once you win Game of the Year, you're no longer an underdog, even if your team is technically small. You know, like, you're already pretty massive. Same with the Crimson Desert guys. Like, that's a massive studio. That, like, they are not a small team, like, at all. It's a pretty massive thing. So I don't know. The Tainted Grail devs is a good one. Good to see you, Legendary drops, by the way.
Most God of War fans are not excited about a prequel story. They naturally want to see what's next for Kratos. But if we're being completely honest, there is a sense of finality to Kratos' arc with God of War Valhalla, at least a temporary sense of finality. If you ask me, I think the most natural story to tell after the events of God of War Valhalla is what I'm calling the War of the Pantheon saga. So far, we've been laser focused on Kratos' growth as a character, but Santa Monica has not yet explored what other mythologies think of a god that, from their perspective, goes around destroying pantheons. I'm willing to bet that after Odin and the rule of the Aesir collapsed, they began to get really worried about Kratos. So naturally, they would temporarily put aside their differences and team up with the purpose of taking down the Pantheon Destroyer himself.
Literally, like, Avengers Endgame. I could totally see that. Imagine, dude, if this ends up, this artwork is so badass. I'm gonna warn you. I try to be honest with you guys when I say I have biases and stuff. I'm just going to be real. Okay? Honesty moment. Cancel me. I don't care. Just my opinion. If this ends up being real, one word. Hard. You get me? You get me? Another word. Throbbing. Understand? Understand? You know what I mean? Tracking? Sorry, the Joe Raptor emote is so funny. Yeah, if this ends up being real, dude, imagine a boss fight like this. Oh, it'll be so good. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I do think that the idea of, like, an Avengers Endgame, sort of like the other pantheons come together, that could be freaking badass. Where maybe it's all centered around Egypt, because that's a really cool setting that's very different than Scandinavia. But they could also bring in members of pantheons from, like, China. You could bring in, like, Aztec gods. There's all sorts of things you could do. If you really wanted to go crazy with it, you could do like a trilogy of games where maybe the first one is exploring the Aztec gods. Maybe they're the ones that kidnap him. Maybe then you go and he fights against the Japanese or Chinese pantheons. And then you go and you have a final end game level fight in Egypt. That could be cool. Like, there's, yeah, bring in Jesus. There's so many options. So many options. I'm excited for the Salt Lake City fight. Kratos, get the caffeine. They won't know what to do. Dude, that would be great. I have a lot of Mormon friends, and it's, you know, I realize that's like the stereotypical excuse, but dude, I think they would love it too. Like, Book of Mormon, but Kratos final battle. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. What are you brewing, Kratos? Is that a health potion?
Worse.
Wait, sorry. Hold on. What are you brewing, Kratos? A health potion?
No. More potent.
Well, what is it, Kratos? What are you brewing? What's going to take down the Pantheon?
Coffee and black tea.
I would love that. That'd be fun. That'd be funny. Anyway, continuing.
And this siege in the Norse realm would make even more sense if Kratos has interacted with these pantheons in the past, which would have been this time period that Cory Barlog wants to explore in Kratos' life. What if the next God of War saga isn't the Egyptian one, but instead it's the saga where Kratos pisses off every pantheon? This would make perfect sense because this is a time period in Kratos' life where he isn't the monster he once was, but he also isn't the peaceful god he has become. Which means he probably killed a few of their deities before exiting their realm. Naturally, these pantheons would want to unite after hearing that Kratos toppled yet another pantheon, so they would march towards Midgard with the goal of putting down the one they feared the most.
Wait. What if it starts with this? So Kratos in the modern, quote unquote, modern day, right? And then there's like maybe a message he gets from Osiris or something. And it's just like, effectively, we're coming for you. Or maybe they attack him or something. And then cut, flashback to the prequel. And that's where the game takes place. And we don't come back to the modern day or current timeline until like the third game, after we see all the stuff he did in the build-up, so that people can connect where this is going to end up with the ultimate showdown with all of the pantheons in this version of Kratos, with this version of Kratos and Atreus and everything. But we're only going to get that after we go through the prequel timelines and understand how we got there. I could totally see that happening. I could totally see that being what they do.
And in this story, Kratos would be placed in a position where he would have no other option but to kill a few gods to protect his people. Which is honestly the only way I see Kratos killing another god after everything he said in God of War Ragnarok.
No more. No more. For the sake of our children, we must be better.
I know most people don't necessarily get hyped up about prequel stories, most want to see what happens next. But I really think in the case of God of War, it's very important for Santa Monica to explore the past before continuing Kratos' story. By doing so, they put on hold all of the mysteries left over from the Norse saga, while also exploring an unknown time period in Kratos' life. But hey, if you think God of War Egypt could work as a sequel instead of a prequel, I really want to know what your take is. So if you think it can do better, write in the comments section a story premise that you think can get Kratos inside of Egypt after the events of God of War Valhalla. The only rule is, Atreus cannot be captured, which will cause Kratos to go and rescue him.
I think they can do pretty much everything. I don't think that's actually that big of a problem, personally. I just don't think that that's a big problem. So and like the weapon thing, I don't think that's a big problem either. You can see some of the comments. Bruno Ears, as much as I love the dropping your spear, quote, may it be put down when its job is done, said by Brock and blessing it. It's a good explanation on why it wouldn't be with Kratos anymore. Oh yes, right there's a built-in excuse for that. Kratos literally mentioned in his journal that Egypt is a land he would like to travel to one day. Moreover, nothing major happened in Egypt involving post God of War 3 Kratos, as we get zero hints and references to that. Mimir also mentioned that Egypt is a land where lots of gods live, but not all of them are good. I mean, I think there's lots of things. I think to a certain extent, there's a little bit of overthinking here. They can make pretty much anything work, and it's not that big of a deal. They can kind of brute force it if they need to. Where I think that there is a little bit more of a headache involved is with specifically like the tone and with Kratos as a character. Like for all of these games, you got to remember there's got to be an arc. There has to be somewhere for Kratos to go as a character. Otherwise, there's just nothing. It's just nothing. It's just stuff happens. You know, there's got to be some growth, some sort of arc. So I think going back in time, you can do that. And like, you know, he's at rock bottom, because whenever a character's at rock bottom, there's plenty of stuff to explore there. But I think the most obvious thing is if they're going to do it after the events of Valhalla, then there's plenty of potential for like, you know, a doomsday situation or an end game situation where it's just multiple pantheons fighting it out and doing stuff like that. They can wiggle things a lot if they need to. I'm not too worried about it. Odin's back. Do you think we spitting ideas like we are doing would stop Santa Monica from doing it because we're already saying it? No. For one, I'm guessing if anybody from Santa Monica ever sees this, they will laugh at how stupid our ideas are because they probably already have thought of something way better. Two, they are way farther along than like retconning or pivoting from something. So I don't know what exactly their studio setup is like. I don't know if they have like 2 full teams. My understanding is that they have one big team and then a pre-production team. The pre-production team was working with Corey through Ragnarok, setting up Corey's game, and now they're working on Corey's game, and now they're probably doing pre-production on what the next God of War is that will come after Corey's game. But who knows? At any point, there could be a pivot or a new piece of information where it's like, oh no, actually, Corey was working on the next God of War, or actually, no, there's something else changed. Like, who knows? Who knows? We don't. And Corey's never heard of it, so it's literally impossible to know. Somehow Zeus has returned. He kind of low-key did though, didn't he? He kind of did through like flashbacks and like these, you know, the ethereal dream stuff when Kratos was like, "Daddy," you know, that famous moment where he said "Daddy." I don't think Luke remembers that moment very well. I don't think he remembers it very well. Oh, gods. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. I also wanted to show you guys this because this was really stupid, okay? I'm sorry. Not really stupid. It was intelligence challenged. Is that better? Somebody sent me this, and they said, Luke, I got a leak of the Fallout 3 remaster. So somebody sent me this and said, Luke, it's a leak. Luke, it's a leak. Luke, you're leaking. This is what they tell me. This is what they shared. That's the whole thing. Fam, this to me looks like the most AI slop basic. Like, you know how all of these AI generated gameplay clips, they always start standing still and then they move. And the Corridor Digital guys, they do a bunch of videos where they try to spot like, is it real or is it AI or is it visual effects? And they put it well where they're like, AI clips, nothing ever happens. And that is true. Nothing ever happens. In this case, it's just literally walking forward. And that's it. You can tell that they put in Fallout 3, and maybe they even did like a mid-journey image generation thing where they put in screenshots and make it look modern, and then they put that into like the Grok AI thing. You know what? Let's actually do it. Let me show you how easy this is to do. Okay? We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fallout 3. Okay, we'll do it live. I just need like this. Okay, copy. Okay. Upscale this and make it look like a modern game with improved graphics. Grok's image stuff isn't fantastic, but we'll see. We'll do it live. We're gonna see if we can make this fake thing live, because I want to show everybody how easy it is to do this. Okay, it's very easy. Ooh, the green hue. Okay, let's take this. What is this button? Copy image. Okay, now turn this into a gameplay video clip. Okay, converting to a video. Okay, I'm showing you why everything is terrible and nothing is real. Okay, For similar gameplay videos is not possible. Okay. Fallout New Vegas gameplay videos on X using video filters. Okay. Grok's having a hard time. Okay, maybe this isn't gonna work too well. Do I have Midjourney? I don't actually remember. Ooh. Midjourney. Does Midjourney have like free stuff? I think they do. I think they do. Okay, here, log in. Just a free account. Does that work? Sure. Claim username. Okay. Okay. Create, paste, image, and then turn it into a video. Okay. It's still trying. It's still trying, dude. Why is it generating subtitles? Grok, what are we doing? What are we doing? Come on, fam. Come on. Midjourney's trying. So just give it a minute. Give it a minute. This will probably not be worth it, okay? Just rest assured, it's probably not going to be worth it. Okay, did it do it? Are you kidding me? Did it just type out? I asked it to make a video. It's thought for 1.5 minutes and then just made up a gameplay clip. What? Bro, that's shocking. That's really stupid. That's amazingly not right. That's insane. Okay. I thought that was going to be a layup, but no, it wasn't. It really wasn't. Okay. Can I try? If I'm just like, make a video, how much clearer can I be than that? Okay, we'll see if it does it there. Okay, these are what Midjourney did. Like, you see what I mean, though? Where they all just, like, start walking forward and nothing ever happens. This one at least kind of looks like gameplay. That looks a little better. It still looks crappy. Vault 10. But, like, you know, it actually kind of looks like it. Okay, I'll give them that. It actually moves. Stuff happens. Okay. Okay. Like, that actually... Okay. A generic dollar bill, literally. Okay, there's that. Let's see if Grok ever figured it out. If for some reason it's looking up my profile. Okay. Dude. Okay, Grok not impressing me today. Not wowing me. Not feeling wow wow wee wah, frankly. If anything, I'm feeling a little kind of unimpressed, frankly. Oh, sorry. Dude, it did it again. It did it again. What is it? See this table? New Vegas nails pacing by blending tutorial with real stakes. That varmint rifle on your back, it's your first tool for survival, but the game's RPG depth shines through skill checks in 2026 with modern dude. That's stunning. Grok literally just did one of these. Okay, one of these right here. It crunched itself. Yes, I still had that pulled up in another video, another tab. Yes, it's one of my favorite videos. Just you have to use Grok Imagine. Forgive me for not knowing what Grok Imagine is. What is Grok Imagine? Do you have to go to grok.com? Is that the problem? Is that the problem? What is Grok Imagine? It's not so easy. It's easy with Midjourney. It's not so easy. It's not so easy here, shockingly enough. Okay, what if I just set it to auto? What if I just set it to auto? Is that the key? Auto. Make this into a video. Or is there a different Grok Imagine? But dude, it did it again. Okay, runaway. It's linking me to other AI tools to use. I don't understand, dude. Okay, it's okay. Okay. Maybe it's just not meant to be. But, you know, the Midjourney one worked. I'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. It's not worth it. Trust me, it's not worth it. The point is, this like alleged leak of the Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3 remaster, remake, whatever. It's the exact same thing where like it starts at a standstill. We can tell it generated an image and then it moves it forward from there. Not only is this not architecturally correct, so this doesn't even make sense, you know, at its face from there. But you can also see the reflection of the building changes as he moves forward. So it was originally reflecting the dome accurately, but when he moves forward into this puddle, all of a sudden, like the pillars disappear over here, the window disappears, and if it's actually reflecting like in a game engine, it wouldn't do that. So the whole thing is just stupid. Sorry.
Streamlabs donated $5. I just bought a 9950X3D and 64 gigabytes of memory. This is all I have left.
I appreciate it, my friend. That's very generous of you. And the 9950X, I think, is what I'm actually rocking on the streaming PC. Actually, it's a beast. It's a beast of a CPU. Tell you what, it'll treat you right. It'll treat you right. Banana Brains is right. You can tell it's fake because it has a mildly stable frame rate. Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Grok is for PDF files. Well, then I'm glad I'm having so much trouble using it, because it's far from useful based on my brief experience just now. Really, shockingly, not at all capable. Okay. Did I have anything else to go through? What is this? Mr. Beast Insights. Mr. Beast Gaming has uploaded a new multilingual thumbnail video. Depending on where you live, a different title and thumbnail will be shown to you. If you're in the United Kingdom, I built London in Minecraft will be shown to you. If you got a different thumbnail, reply below. We built America in Minecraft. We built London in Minecraft. What? What? We built London in Minecraft with... Dude, that's... Okay, I don't understand. I think it's just... I don't think it's actually... Wait, this person's saying that they got a different... Okay, I don't know what's happening anymore. I don't know what's happening anymore. None of this is real. Everything's fake. Everything's fake. Everything's a lie. I don't know. How does that work? All that we actually have right now are... we have ABC testing, so I can put 3 thumbnails on a video and 3 titles on a video, and then it will dynamically show them to people when we first publish the video. And then based on watch time, it'll pick which one did best. So we can make sure the thumbnail works ideally. So, you know, I might do one thumbnail where it's got the text in the center, one where the text is on the right side, one where it's a totally different style of thumbnail, and all the titles are different, and we just see which one performs best. That's why some people are like, oh, they changed the thumbnail, they must be scared of how people were reacting. It's like, no, it's a robot doing it. It's just that's how it works, man. That's how it works. It is genuinely cool that they're able to do it, and they'll just like test it against a bunch of people, and it's based specifically not on how many views it brings in. So it's not testing for like clickbait. It weights the successful thumbnail on the total minutes watched. So whichever thumbnail led to people clicking and watching the most is the one that wins, and that YouTube then uses site-wide. So it's not interested in just getting people to click. It wants you to click and then watch the whole thing. Video previews killed thumbnails for me. They're way less important than they used to be. Dude, have you looked at like the Wayback Machine of YouTube's homepage? Circa like 2007 or something. Like, I wonder if I can just do this. Like circa 2007. I haven't been able to get Wayback Machine working properly on this browser though. It's really weird. It just sits loading and spinning. It's really weird. It's really weird. Maybe if I pull up this other browser, it'll work. Because I literally just want to see what it looked like in 2007. Because it'll blow you away at just how much of it was just like cleavage. That was like the whole website. It was actually insane. It was just literally nothing but butts. Not even that's not wanting to work. YouTube.com/home, maybe? 2006. One snapshot. Let's see this one. That's old school. What about this one? This is circa 2010. Okay, loading. Okay, no, youtube.com/home is not a valid one. I thought just youtube.com would do it. What if I do this? Come on. Come on. I want to see a blast from the past. Yeah, back here. Take me back. Take me back. 15 million captures. Take me back. Oh, dude. Adobe Flash Player. What a throwback. 2005 YouTube. Oh, I didn't even think about that. With no Flash, we might not be able to actually see anything. Oh. Oh. Well, this one's funny. Okay. So active groups, Cheyenne, Kimball, The Lonely Island, Landwalker, The Blue Angels, Kittens. Kittens were popular. Dude, what a vibe. What a vibe. Oh, okay. So I stand corrected. July 31st, 2006, there were no boobs on the home screen. No boobs. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Sorry to disappoint you. But there you go. What a vibe, man. That's a throwback. Because I remember that. Like this era. Oh, what a crazy... Look, they had the users online listed. Oh, that... Sex! Maybe it's good the thumbnails aren't loading. Sign up for your free account. November Nano a Day giveaway. YouTube is giving away one brand new 4GB iPod Nano every day for the entire month. Wow. Wow. What a vibe. What website is this? YouTube. Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine. Yeah, they've archived tons of stuff. What a vibe. That's cool. I had one of those. Yeah, dude. iPod Nano. Oh, dude, I had the Shuffle. I never had a Nano. I wasn't that cool. But I had a Shuffle, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It was awesome. It was freaking baller. It's the best thing ever. LA Beats for the win. Dude, for real. Hey, Luke, have you reacted / seen the Marathon Runner Shells Developer Insight? Looks really impressive. Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive into it probably Monday. We're going to go through all of them. Check out the whole thing. Because there's a lot. There's a lot. So, yeah. So the Lonely Island and cat videos have passed the test of time. Dude, they're ancient. They go way back. Yeah. Way, way back. Yeah, blast from the past for real. Resident Evil Showcase. I was going to do like a full reaction thing to it, but I don't know. There just wasn't... We'll do like a recap of everything they've shown, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of news in it, you know? Wasn't a whole lot of news. Zephyrus just tweeted this. What is this? I guess yesterday he tweeted, whatever. Ubisoft might provide official updates on the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake around February 12th. Recently, Ubisoft announced they will hold their next investor call for Q3 sales on the 12th. Normally, in these sales documents, they share official updates on their upcoming games. That would make sense. that makes sense. Because it should be any time now. They really should have it ready anytime. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's coming soon. But Leon has a watch and a car. Porsche. Yeah. Okay, fam. Like I said, I just wanted to do kind of a quicker stream, catch up, and finish out what we started yesterday. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm going to call it there for today. I will be back Monday. Hopefully no power outages. And we will have a lot to go through in like a more formal, full stream, okay? You guys have a fantastic rest of your Saturday and weekend. I will see you Monday, rocking and rolling. Much, much love. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. That one's for free.